Hi guys, so there's a new poll out which will increase the pressure on Rishi Sunak to resign. However, while the last one was commissioned by some dodgy individuals, this one is YouGov and the number of respondents is pretty significant. So Labour, according to this, are on track to win over 400 seats. Not quite as big as the 1997 landslide, but while Blair had a great deal of motivation behind him, Starmer is keeping a very low profile, which reinforces the point that this is a referendum on 14 years of Tory rule. Here Sky News has the details.
It's a massive poll. We should call it a mega poll, really. It's nearly 19,000 people sampled by YouGov over the period of the 7th to the 27th of March. The voting percentages it predicts are 41% for Labour, 24% for the Conservatives, 12% for the Liberal Democrats and Reform UK, and 7% for the Greens. There are the seat totals predicted. So you've got Labour there, 403. That is up 201. Conservatives down to 155. That is a loss of 210 seats. Better news for the Liberal Democrats, though, challenging in what we call the blue wall these days. 38 gains, taking them up to 49. SNP, however, going through all sorts of problems since the resignation of Nicola Sturgeon, down 29 to 19, just 4 for Plaid and 1 Green. Now, that suggests a Labour majority of 154 seats. That's not as many as Mr Blair won in 1997. It was 179 then. Big name casualties? Well, they don't come much bigger than the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt. He's due to be fighting a new seat called Godalming and Ash. At the moment, it's southwest Surrey. He's always faced a challenge from the Lib Dems down there in the leafy stockbroker belt of Surrey. He's in danger. Penny Mordaunt in Portsmouth. Now, that's always been a fairly marginal seat. She won it from the Labour Party a few years back. And Grant Shapps, he's the MP for Welwyn and Hatfield. That was a seat that was Labour also in the Blair years. Now, remember when one of these big polls came out in January, a similar one, that was in the Daily Telegraph, the Tories went into absolute meltdown. And it started all sorts of mutinous talk from Tory backbenchers, talk of getting rid of Mr Sunak. Well, Margaret Thatcher famously said the only poll that matters is the poll on election day. Well, of course, we do have some elections coming up on May the 2nd. That'll be a dangerous period for Mr Sunak if the Tories do very badly then.
And that makes sense. So on the 2nd of May, once again, yes, the local elections are taking place. And it's not looking good for Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives. It's looking like a massive disaster for them. Now, this poll, of course, is going to apply pressure to Rishi Sunak to resign, to step down and have somebody else take over. And I'm pretty sure that when the local elections take place, if it's as bad as we predict, it's going to be an absolute massacre, and there would be more and more pressure for Rishi Sunak to resign. Now, replacing Rishi Sunak with somebody else isn't really going to help the Conservatives. And the idea that he'd be replaced with Penny Mordaunt, who would end up losing her seat, would be catastrophic as well. Now, will Rishi Sunak go? I don't know. No, not following this poll, but I think we'll have to wait until the 2nd of May and then when the results come in. Because it's possible that this could be all bad polling, and it may not turn out as bad for the Conservatives at the local election as we predict, and he may be able to cling on a little bit longer. Now, if we look at the results of this poll, you can see here 201 increase for Labour, 400 seat. This is massive. This is almost as big as Tony Blair's in 1997, as was pointed out here. Now, I keep saying this is not so much about enthusiasm for the Labour Party and Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer is not very popular with the public, not like Tony Blair was back in 1997. So a lot of this has to go down to the point of this is a referendum on the incumbent. This is a referendum on 14 years of Tory rule, and people keep talking about the cost of living crisis. They keep talking about how public services are on their knees. The NHS is in pieces. And this is what people are going to do. They're going to come out and they're going to vote against the Conservatives. And it doesn't matter who they vote for, it's not voting for the Tories. And this is going to help Labour massively. But of course, there's also the issue of Reform UK, who are going to split the right-wing vote. Now, unless they do a deal with Nigel Farage and get him to convince his party or company or whatever it is to step aside, this is going to be an absolute bloodbath for the Tories, a bloody nose. Even if Reform do step aside, it's unlikely that the Conservatives will stay in power. It would reduce, of course, the majority that Labour would win, but the Tories are on the way out. The public are tired of this. Now, an interesting one here is the SNP as well, who are, according to this poll, going to lose almost 30 seats. I think part of this is down perhaps to the change of leadership. Nicola Sturgeon was really popular. She was popular with pretty much everyone in the party, and now the SNP is somewhat split. It has lost a lot of support, I think, from many people within the independence community. They see, look, the SNP is not going in the right direction, or they feel it's not going in the right direction. And I think also the vote is going to be split, and this is going to harm the SNP in a sense. Not so much people are moving away from the SNP, but I think a lot of support for Labour in Scotland is going to ride the coattails of Keir Starmer in England. So I think what's going to happen is people who would be considering voting for the SNP may sit it out, or some may switch to Labour, and this will of course split the vote. But the Conservatives are expecting to lose pretty badly in Scotland as well. So the support for the Conservatives is going down everywhere. Reform UK, of course, are going to split the vote for the Conservatives, and this is going to help deliver this massive win for Labour. Once again, I don't think they're going to hit 403. I think even a majority of 100 would be pretty significant. But it's not, as I keep saying, this is not about people flocking to Labour. It's about people flocking away from the Conservatives. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.